folks, it's Melinda. Today we're going to be looking at something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at pearls, shells, and coral. I know there are people out there rolling their eyes saying, that's not minerals. But hear me out. Hear me out. So I think we're going to start with pearls. I'll start showing you my multicolored pearl necklace that was purchased in Mykonos, on Mykonos Island in Greece. Oh, so pretty. So a pearl is a hard, glistening object produced within the soft tissue of a living shelled mollusk or another animal. Just like the shell of the mollusk, a pearl is composed of calcium carbonate in minute crystalline form, which has deposited in concentric layers. The material is mainly aragonite, or a mixture of aragonite and calcite. So while they are not formed, geologically, they are still, at the very least, composed of minerals. So why not love them just the same? I certainly love mine, and I won't be purchasing too many pearls later in my life, knowing what I know now, but I am still very happy to have the ones that I do have in my collection. I do think they're absolutely gorgeous, and worthy of knowing kind of the science behind them and admiring them in that way as well. These pearl necklaces were purchased in a very high-end jewelry store in the Louvre in Paris. So you can see why they would be a little bit more expensive. The dyeing on them, the color is much nicer than the other ones, which were they're a lot more easy to tell that they're dyed. You can kind of see concentrations of dye and spots. So that certainly implies that these were done by dipping them in a dyeing solution, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. These ones from the Louvre were done in a much more expensive and higher end fashion process. So the color is very nice and uniform, and the shape of the pearls is also an indicator of a more expensive, higher-end pearl. So, like I just said, so the ideal pearl is more of like a perfectly round and smooth pearl, but there are many other shapes known as baroque pearls that can occur. So the finest quality of natural pearls have been highly valued as gemstones and objects of beauty for many centuries. Because of this, pearl has become a metaphor, right? Sometimes we say, what a pearl, when we're referring to something as being like rare, fine, admirable, or valuable. And here's the other one. So the most valuable pearls occur spontaneously in the wild, but they're pretty rare, extremely rare actually. So these wild pearls are referred to as natural pearls because it's far more likely that you're seeing unnatural ones, which would be cultured or farmed pearls. And they're from pearl oysters and freshwater mussels, and they do make up the grand majority of pearls being sold. And we also have to keep in mind that there are imitation pearls that are sold just absolutely wildly, inexpensive and, like costume jewelry. Ooh, loud train. I love that sound. There we go. So the interesting thing that I learned about pearls is that most of them are farmed. Pearls have been harvested and cultivated primarily for the use in jewelry, but in the past they were also used to adorn clothing. And on top of that, they've also been used in crushed form in cosmetics, medicines, and paint formulas. So, as I said earlier, dyeing pearls is a pretty common practice in the jewelry industry. It's a way to enhance the beauty of ordinary pearls or to achieve a highly desirable yet extremely rare color in pearls. So the dyeing process varies depending on the type of pearl. Pearls are generally dyed by either heating the pearls or submerging them and infiltrating them with color. The easiest pearls to dye are freshwater pearls because they're nacre, that calcium carbonate, mineral that they're made up of. The layers aren't as compact as saltwater pearls. Typically, the freshwater pearl dyeing process takes between a few hours to a couple of days, so not very long at all. So the last pearl in my collection is a little coin pearl. The beautiful rainbow iridescent. So pretty. So coin pearls are cultured pearls, mostly farmed today in China in freshwater mussels in river, lakes, and streams. They are formed by the pearl farmer inserting a flat round nucleus into the mussel to help it form the shape of the coin pearl. Over time, the mussel will deposit nacre around the disc, which is often made of shell, so that there is an even thickness of nacre on both sides of the flat pearl. This process can take up to a year before the pearl is ready, and choosing exactly when to remove the pearl from the mussel is really important. So if you pull it out too soon, the nacre might be very thin, with the shape of the disc nucleus being quite visible. But if you pull it out too late, the pearl will have begun to take on this baroque shape, this non-symmetrical shape. So the nicer coin pearls were pulled like right at the exact time. I personally didn't know that this was the process of pearls and pearl jewelry. I didn't know that they forced creatures to grow beads and then ripped them out at an appropriate time, I suppose. So that I found that a little bit disturbing to learn. I certainly won't be buying, like I said at the beginning of the video, very much pearl jewelry from now on. But I still think that's a really fascinating thing to know. I don't think everyone knows that, and I like to have all the information. So yeah, that was really, really neat to learn, and a little bit scarring, but I will still enjoy my specimens. They're mine now. They have, sentimental value, and I will love them and cherish them, and that's the best I can do at this point. There we go. So there's Pearl. Yeah, super neat. Next up, we'll do Seashell. So popular seashell is abalone, and you will see these in crystal stores, metaphysical stores, that sort of thing. So beautiful. Oh my god. Yeah, gorgeous. So a seashell, or also simply known as a shell sometimes, is a hard protective outer layer created by an animal that lives in the sea. So the shell is part of the body of the animal. Empty seashells are often found washed up on beaches by beachcombers. The shells are empty because the animal has died and the soft parts have been eaten by another animal or have decomposed. So the seashell is typically composed of calcium carbonate, sometimes called chitin, but calcium carbonate, if you remember, is the same material that pearls are made of. So again, very much either just aragonite mineral or aragonite and calcite, which are both very similar minerals. So super neat. And like I said, what we'll see most in stores is abalone. They're marine snails. So the thick inner layer of the abalone shell is composed of nacre, as you can see here. It's like mother of pearl, rainbow iridescence, that beautiful material. And in many species of these marine snails have highly iridescent shells, giving rise to the range of strong, changeable colors. which makes the shells attractive to humans as decorative objects, jewelry, and a source of colorful mother of pearl. So this one was sold as more like a collectible stone at a metaphysical shop or geology shop. I can't get enough of that beautiful nacre, that beautiful iridescence or mother of pearl. I love all the colors. Like, wow, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I have a little bit of an easier time dealing with shells because the animal has already been, his life is over, so now I can appreciate a piece of him. I don't know, that may be morbid to some people, but I find that more comforting than the source of pearls. Wow, so gorgeous. I also have these cameo abalone earrings. Very pretty. I love cameos. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why. I'm a portrait artist and they're portraits, so that makes sense actually. But I've always loved them since I was a child. Love them. They've got that, I don't know, vintage look to them. And I'm a very nostalgic, sentimental type person. There we go. So pretty. Awesome. Then I have these other carved shell earrings that I purchased in Bali, Indonesia. So pretty. The other is exactly the same, but I'll give it a little bit of a show anyways. Wouldn't feel right to do one and not the other. There we go. And then my little shell collection is also from Bali, Indonesia, from Petitengit Beach. There we go. So pretty. Gorgeous. Beautiful colors and textures. Nature is astounding. Isn't it? Isn't nature mind-blowing? Oh, wow. Beautiful. I have a similar one in here. And my big beauty. So pretty. So the last shell specimen that I'll show you is another one that we hear quite often in the jewelry world or, gemstone, metaphysical world. It is paua. And I often wondered what was the difference between paua shell and abalone shell. Sometimes they look very, very similar. And the answer is that paua shell is, it is abalone shell, but it's just a very specific type and from a specific area. So here are my beautiful earrings that I purchased in Bali, Indonesia. So gorgeous. So stunning. So paua is the Maori name given to 3 New Zealand species of large edible sea snails, known in the United States and Australia as abalone. and in the United Kingdom as Ormer shells. So again, Powa shell is abalone shell. It's just from the New Zealand location, because that's what they refer to it as. Highly polished New Zealand Powa shells are extremely popular as souvenirs with their striking blue, green, and purple iridescence. And really nice quality specimens can be a little bit valuable in the jewelry world. Isn't that gorgeous? These ones aren't identical because they're made of very nicely, differently patterned shell. So I'll show them both off. Isn't that just stunning? It almost reminds you of labradorite, which it is not, of course, not even close. But it just reminds you of those colors and that flash. Beautiful. So gorgeous. Let's see if we can get closer. So beautiful. So there's shell. Now, lastly, we're going to look at corals. So I'll show you a few from Kuta Beach, again in Bali, Indonesia. And I have to admit, the beach was full of these, and it was pretty darn sad, because that means their lives are over, these poor, beautiful creatures. But like I said, I'm glad that they lived out their life. And I'm happy to treasure a few of them, So pretty. So corals are marine invertebrates. They typically live in compact colonies of many identical individual polyps. Coral species include the important reef builders that inhabit tropical oceans and secrete calcium carbonate to form a hard skeleton. So again, these beautiful hard skeletons that we're seeing here are made up of calcium carbonate, the same thing as pearls, the same thing as shells, and composed of the minerals Aragonite mostly, and sometimes Aragonite and Calcite. Really fascinating. And they're all so different, unique, gorgeous. Interesting. And then this specimen is a little bit purple and green, and it's from Costa Rica. Definitely looks different than the other ones. Very neat. Very cool. Now, in the jewelry world, we mostly see the gorgeous red coral, sometimes referred to as precious coral. It's just the common name given to a genus of marine corals, sometimes also referred to as corallium. The distinguishing characteristic of precious corals is their durable and intensely colored red or pink-orange skeleton, which is often used for making jewelry, like I said, in the jewelry world. So I'll start by showing you. I have two earrings, and again, these ones are from Bali, Indonesia, from the same jewelry maker as the abalone, or sorry, pawa. Same thing though, as we've learned. Isn't that gorgeous? We saw a lot of gorgeous, more of the like pinkish orangey red coral when we visited Sicily, but I couldn't afford anything at that time. So when I saw these, I jumped on them. So pretty. So the hard skeleton of red coral branches is naturally matte, but it can be polished to a glassy shine. There we go. It exhibits a range of warm reddish pink colors from a pale pink to deep red, and the word coral is also used to name those such colors. And personally, I love coral colors. I'm not a fan of pink, but there's something about that orangey, pinky, reddy orange pink. I don't know. I love it. These are very deep red for sure. I love the textures inside of them, that we can still see pieces of this guy's skeleton. Absolutely beautiful. So owing to its intense and permanent coloration and glossiness, precious coral skeletons have been harvested since antiquity for decorative uses. Coral jewelry has been found in ancient Egyptian and prehistoric European burials and continues to be made to the present day. It was especially popular during the Victorian age. It was all the rage. Oh, it's so pretty. Wonderful. There we have it, folks. Pearls, shells, and coral. Some of it a little sad, but most of it extremely interesting and so beautiful. Definitely, I'm one of those, touchy-feely people, so I'll thank all of the beautiful creatures that allowed me to have my collection. I chuckle, but I mean that. I'm silly like that. I guess some people would think that's silly. But yes, I'm very grateful for my collection, and I do love it, and I think it's so fascinating and beautiful. Yeah, so hopefully if you have some collections at home, you've maybe gained a little bit of a different appreciation for them. And if not, I hope you just enjoyed looking at my specimens. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. See you next time.